Welcome to the Family Home Podcast with Courtney and Michael Adamo. We've created this special mini-series to celebrate the launch of our new book, The Family Home. Over the next few weeks, we'll be diving into the themes of the book, and we'll be talking to friends and experts about creating a thoughtful, happy family home.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Shira Gill, a globally recognized home organizing expert, a lifestyle coach, and the best-selling author of Minimalist, Organized Living, and Lifestyled. Shira has helped thousands of people around the world simplify their homes and lives through her signature blend of minimalism, design, and intentional living. As a mother of two and someone who deeply understands the chaos and beauty of family life, Shira offers a refreshingly realistic approach to creating a home that feels calm, beautiful, and aligned with our values. We're very excited to talk to Shira today. I read her first book, Minimalist, back to front at least a few times. And I really love the kind of realistic and just straightforward, very simple ideas of how to organize your home and clear the chaos so that we can kind of be mentally lighter. So we are excited to welcome Shira Gill. Welcome, Shira. We're so happy to have you here with us to share all of your wonderful insights and tips on organizing our homes and decluttering and all of what minimalism means. So I thought the first question we could ask is to get you to share what family life looks like for you currently in this stage.
Well, it's hilarious. As you asked me that, 4 teenage girls just walked in the front door and I'm shushing them. So you're getting the most candid family life there is. But yeah, it's busy, it's hectic, it's fun. I have 2 teenage girls. One is about to be 14, Emily. And then I have an older daughter, Chloe, who just turned 16 and is learning how to drive, which is terrifying. And so they're, in and out with their friends. And we run a kind of busy, fast-paced family, I would say. We like keeping things like active. So our home is very calming, I think. Like I've tried to set up a home that feels very calm and easy to run, but we like a lot of activity in it. So there's like the dog and me and my husband and kids and teenagers, and we have kind of an open door policy, which is really nice because I grew up an only child and my house was very quiet and I thought kind of sad. So it feels really nice to have this like bustle of energy.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something that I always find when you have a bustling family, and we have 5 kids and we live in a small house. You can imagine the amount of energy that bursts from the seams here. But there is this sense of wanting to keep things very orderly and organized and unchaotic in your home in order to sort of endure that, and to celebrate it and to enjoy the chaos of what a family is like.
Totally.
And I know you've touched on that about the emotional burden of clutter and too much stuff and an unorganized home. I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about what you mean by that.
Yeah, so for me as a really young child, I think I had kind of the epiphany that we control so very little in our lives, much as I would like to control all of the things. I realize like we really have just like slivers of agency over very specific things. And as a kid, my parents separated when I was 3 and divorced when I was 8. And I went back and forth between houses every other day, kind of dragging my things back and forth. And it felt very chaotic to me. And I think I just developed this theory that like if my room could feel, or my rooms, because I had 2 of them, feel really calm and cozy and kind of comforting, that whatever was going on the outside or with other people would feel more manageable. And so, I never thought of it as a career path. It was really just like a method of self-care for me. And I think as I got older and started having kids, there was just so much pressure to have to own so many things. Like, I don't know how it is where you live, but it's like the second you tell people you're pregnant, there's like the baby registry, and people are pushing like the new stroller and the new swing and all the, must have gear and gadgets. And I found it overwhelming enough to have a baby, but then to contend with this like crazy influx of stuff made me feel more anxious. And so I think it just, again, was kind of a method of self care to be like, what can I strip away? How can I make my life simpler? And I just found, I have two kids, but like the fun that we have as a family has nothing to do with stuff or gear or gadgets. It's like the adventures we have and the laughs we have and the conversations. And so I think I've just become, if anything, like more and more and more of a minimalist.
Yeah.
Because I've just seen the benefits on my mental health and the kind of freedom we have as a family to travel more, to have people over. Like, I have friends and clients that won't have people over because they feel so ashamed of the state or the mess of their home. And I think it's perfectly normal to have things out of place. But I think when you feel like you're literally drowning in clutter and you're spending all of your free time just like managing the piles,
Yeah.
I just always wanted to avoid that.
Yeah. We get asked that all the time, where is all the stuff and what about all the kid mess? And our answer always is, the more you have, the more mess it can make. The more toys you have for your children, the more mess there is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, wouldn't you say that? Like we when I read your book, Minimalista, I've never felt more seen in my life. I have to say, I'm gonna say, this is a soul sister if I've ever had one. Um, there was a section on kid art in that book, and I think you talked about the fact that you just simply don't keep it all, or even want to keep it all. And I was like, I felt so validated in my stance.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
keep so much guilt around like feeling like you're a bad parent if you throw out your kids' art. And I think I just decided I could be a very lovely parent and still throw out my kids' art. And I think, as they got older, I obviously tried. I never advocate for like sneaking it in the gutter when your kids are sleeping and then having them be traumatized.
of course.
But it was like there always was kind of a language in our house around like limits and boundaries, and like part of the joy of art is just creating. But if you're just hoarding and keeping, like you're not being creative, you're just gathering dust at a certain point. So I think I was very like, yes, do all the art, but also recognize we cannot possibly keep all of the art.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely have that policy. Our kids are at a very creative school and bring home a lot of
piles of artwork. Yeah. Every
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just, we sit down and we look at it and we go through it and we acknowledge it, and and our very favorite things we keep, but
Yeah.
we don't need to keep it all. And the
Right.
kids just know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I would imagine with 4 kids, it's like just the practicality around, volume. Like
Yeah.
you have to have some limits or you're just gonna be like swimming in art.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think that's something we wanted to talk about a little bit, about how like family life and minimalism often don't go hand in hand. Like
Yeah.
as you mentioned, the minute you're pregnant, you're inundated with all the products you must have. And then so there's that side of it, all the stuff you need. But I
Mhm.
also find that even if you're minimal, if you come from a minimalist, like I believe I'm a minimalist, but I'm still always shocked by the amount of stuff the kids bring home. I don't know how, I don't know where, like it comes in pockets in their backpacks from kids on the
Well, yeah, and now we have teenagers who buy their own stuff. They go
Yeah.
online and order things, and parcels show up that we had no sort of part in. And
Me too.
I mean,
We
they,
lost all control.
yes. And
Yeah.
it feels like it's hard to manage it as much as we'd like to keep it like that. So I thought maybe
Yeah.
you could just talk a little bit about that and like, do you have systems in place or sort of daily or weekly rituals or habits that kind of keep your home organized?
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because my daughters are in the thrifting phase, which is great. Like, I love the sustainability of it. They really don't buy new clothes, but the problem is they'll shop at places that literally sell clothes by the pound, used clothes, and they'll come home and be like, "I got 12 things for $1." And I'm like, "Great. Like, where are you gonna put them?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is, I think when your kids are quite young, you still control the input and the output. And then at a certain point when they get older, especially as teenagers, free will, their own money, um, there is, a loosening up that I think is inevitable. And I think for us, we're in a quite small home. And what's been really helpful for me is to kind of do my own work to release, like, their rooms are not going to look anymore like how I would have them,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm giving that up. They can spackle their walls with posters, they can have balled up stuff on the floor. They're not going to perfectly make their beds. Like, I surrender to all of that. But where we've kind of created, I think, a healthy boundary is around our shared spaces. And because they're so small, because they have so many uses for us, I'm sitting in our dining room now. So we have this very small dining room that's like also my work headquarters, a kitchen, and a living room. And the agreement is essentially like, these rooms are set and minimal. And if you do art or homework or take out a project, you put it back when you're done and reset. However, in your room, if you want to have like 12 balled up hoodies on the floor, like, I guess, cool. Like, I don't love it, but I've had to be like, it's not my life, it's not my space. Like, part of being a parent is encouraging free will and independence and them carving out their own unique preferences, right? So that's kind of, and my husband, I'll just add to the mix, like, he has ADHD. It's really difficult for him to meticulously organize things. That is not how his brain works. And so minimalism has actually really helped in that regard because there's just so little to manage. But he has his own like little shed behind our house that is where he works. Um and it's, by my standards, like, wild, like, it's really messy. There's books all over the floor, there's papers, there's old coffee mugs. And I think what's been really helpful is for all of us to just communicate very openly about our respective needs. And they're all quite different. And we have a small space.
Yeah.
But I think any home you can create some physical boundaries where it's like, this slice is mine. And, our bedroom is like a bed and two lamps, and it feels very peaceful. And then my husband's zone, to me, is wildly chaotic. To him is like, oh, I get to fully exhale here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
I'm curious how you handle it with 4 kids.
be a 5.
5, yeah.
Oh, wait, 5. Oh my God.
I wish I could be a bit more like you and let I mean we have had to surrender and the teenagers definitely have their own space and I really believe in respecting that too, but um I think I'm probably a bit neurotic. I wouldn't let you have your own space. We also live in a very small house. It's a tiny house for the 7 of
I
us.
need a workshop.
Yeah, you need to build a shed.
Yeah, you do.
I also think that like our kid, we live in a really old house without built-in closets and or storage, and so the kids each have like a vintage wardrobe that holds their clothes, and that's it for them, you know. So it's and we, our closet is that thing that you see back here that we share, and that's it for us, and so there's only so much you can have in there. So there's a lot, when things come in, something has to go. And I do find the kids are actually quite good at taking things out and we take them to the charity shop or the op shop, we call it here. So there's that kind of having a small home, or those sort of restrictions, I find have actually helped keep us more of a minimal, having a minimal home.
Yeah.
Because of that.
I think so. I mean, the clients that I've had who have much larger homes really struggle because when you have tons of space and tons of storage, it's really difficult for people to set their own boundaries and say, I'm going to choose just not to buy things, even though I have plenty of room. Whereas in our case, we don't buy things because there's literally nowhere to put them. Like, we don't have a garage or an attic or where our home is 120 years old. So it's similar to you, like very slight on storage. And I think that does keep us kind of like forced to, curb some of the consumption. I think in terms of like you had asked about daily habits and rituals. So, we all walk in the front door right into our living room. There's no like entry or mud room or, anything like so there used to just be like a pile of shoes and backpacks, and it made me crazy because it's like all of this is dumped in our living room.
Yeah.
And so what I did, it kind of looks similar to what you have behind you, is we just had this little sliver of space, and I had built this really little cabinet with doors that close, and inside there's hooks and there's cubbies. And so now my kids walk in, they open the doors, they throw all the stuff in, their shoes go in a basket and backpacks and dog leash and what have you, but then the doors close. And so just like with both of us, there's kind of like a clean white facade. Nobody knows what's inside, but it is visually very calming. And then my older daughter, who has quite a small room, like she just marches in and goes straight to her room with her backpack and her hoodies, and that's just like right into her room. So I think that basic thing of having like a place that things can get dumped that isn't like out in the foreground is really helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of have these things where like I don't go to bed at night without tidying the living spaces and making sure the kitchen is clean, because I really love waking up to a tidy home. It sets me off on, and I'm sure that you are the same.
Totally. It's interesting because I just met someone at a party who was saying their partner doesn't care and isn't affected. And she was asking me, like, do you think it's different types of brain chemistry? I wish I was a scientist or a biologist. I don't know the answer, but I have seen in my work that there are certain types of people, myself included, where it's like, I really can't function at my best if I'm in a cluttered environment. And so it's just something I've used to, like, anywhere I go, I do a quick tidy so I can then, feel like my brain is clear. Whereas my husband is actually a good example. Like, I just cleaned out his whole, office cave. I thought it was a gift. And did not necessarily think it was a gift. And not only that, but he was really honest. He said, like, my brain is really chaotic, and seeing chaos for me, something about it feels like aligned and comforting. And it blew my mind because I was like, I'm literally like picking up dirty coffee mugs and piles of paper and old Amazon boxes. I don't know how you could focus, but for him, it really didn't faze him. And so I think what's so tricky about family life is that we're all running in our own little wired brains, thinking that we know the right way to be. And in this case, I was really checked around, like, what I think is calming is not necessarily calming for another person. And so I think finding a way of communicating that with the people you cohabitate with, and figuring out ways that everyone really can have their needs met, even if it's like a sliver of space.
It can be so tricky. We just had our eldest come home from university for the summer. He's in Hawaii at university, and he's so sweet. And he's been so far. I mean, he's only been home for about a week, but he's enthusiastic to help out, like the kids will be fighting over whose turn it is for dishes, and he'll say, I'm happy to do it. I'll do it tonight. And he does such a bad job. I mean, he's seriously, his idea of clean is so not even your idea of clean. Like, it's not even that it doesn't meet my standards. Like, it's really bad. But he thinks he's doing a good job. And so as a mother, I'm just so conflicted because I'm like, he's trying, but he's just nailing it. And I think
your standards, right? Like, he probably thinks he's doing fine.
He does. Yeah, he really thinks he's done a good job. He's helped out. Like, he's so proud of. He could, and you don't want to discourage that. And as a mother, that has been my hardest thing too, because you have all these different personalities, like you said, and different comforts with the mess and chaos, and different standards of what clean is. And sometimes
Sometimes we just have to rewash those dishes.
Yeah, that's it.
Say thank you for your service. I know my old daughter, she dries the dishes and puts them away, and they're just like soaking wet. And Chloe, did these seem dry to you? And she's like, yeah. And
it's great when I mean, it's all good, but that can be so tricky. So in your book, in Minimalista, which I feel like I read front to cover like 5 times, you talk a lot about like, okay, so say you've not been organizing your home and you don't have this minimalist mindset, and you need to basically get a handle on things, and you walk people through exactly how to do that. And I love that, like, you even have very clear things like, these things you can get rid of. Like, I give you permission to get rid of, whatever, all the
excess gift wrap and the doubles of everything in the kitchen, and
the tote bags that you've got stored in your pantry, and all the jars, and all the things. So million water bottles that you somehow think you need that you don't. So I thought maybe you could just share a little bit about, like, if someone is feeling like, oh my gosh, my house is not organized, and they want it to be, where do you begin? And what are some tips that you can just give someone generally?
Yeah. And I mean, just to normalize, I think most people don't feel like their house is organized and tidy to their liking. I think it's very unusual in my experience. So first of all, just to normalize, most people feel really stressed out about their homes. And so I think starting with having some sort of compelling vision for how you want to live and why you want to change how you're currently living is always where I start. The first chapter in my book is just called Clarify. And it really is like, before you even think about decluttering or organizing or moving things around, you have to really clarify why. Like, what's the purpose of all of this? And what do you want to create for your life, for your home, for your family? Why does it matter? Right? And so I think it's almost like starting with a pen and paper and just jotting down, like, what isn't working? What's frustrating or challenging or draining on my energy? And what would it feel like to have a home that felt really good to me? Because as we've talked about, it's so different. There's no like cookie cutter, this is a good home or this is an organized home. Everybody's level of like finished or enough is drastically different. So I think it's kind of arriving first of all on like, what is success? And then from there, what I like to do is just break the home into the tiniest little nuggets, like little micro wins, because I think people get so overwhelmed and they try to like rip off the band-aid and take their house by storm and it's too much. And then they don't do anything and they just have piles all over and feel like a failure. So, what I tend to do, like if somebody really feels like every room in my house is a problem, I would just say, great, let's write down every room in your house, like living room, dining room, bedroom, etc. Let's rank those rooms in order of how much they are affecting your life right now. So typically, like if somebody really doesn't know where to start, I'll say start with your bedroom. That's where you start every morning. That's where you wake up, the first thing you see, and it's where you finish your day. But some people, it's like my kitchen is such a pain point, I don't even cook anymore. So evaluate like what's going to have the biggest impact on your actual life. And then from there, I say just kind of put on like a laser focus to that one room and compartmentalize all the rest of your house. It's fine. It's been sitting there forever how it is. And just take that one space, say it's your kitchen, one drawer at a time, one tiny category at a time. I call it a 15-minute win. Like you can get so much done in 15 minutes if you just say, all I'm going to do is empty our utensil drawer, wipe it down for a clean, start, and only put back the utensils that we use. And then everything else goes in, recycling or donate. Done. Then you have one drawer that's like sparkly clean, organized, tidy, and it gives you this sense of accomplishment, where I think I've just seen so many people get derailed trying to organize an entire kitchen, in an afternoon. And it's just too much, for most people to handle that. So really, really bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. And I think that one clean drawer is just so encouraging, isn't it? It's like you feel,
Ew.
it really is like baby steps, but it's got this kind of,
Builds momentum.
yeah, this momentum that gets you rolling. And um, I always tell people, because we rent our house out on Airbnb a couple times a year during busy like holiday times here in Byron, and that alone keeps our house in mostly good order. I mean, it always is a big job to get it ready because we have to declutter and clean again, but knowing that that's going to happen always kind of keeps me throughout the rest of the year managing what I'm going to keep, what I'm not. And
Yeah.
like in some ways, like when people ask, like, where do I even begin? I say, maybe just in your head, think like someone's going to come stay there. Like,
Yeah.
someone's going to come and they're going to open your drawers in your bathroom. And what do you want to be in there? But
That's really terrifying for most people.
I'm sure that you see so many people and they could never have someone come look in their
You
bathroom.
cannot imagine. I mean, we also rent our house. And it keeps us like running a tight ship because it's like, oh, strangers are descending upon our house and they're going to need to find things and they're going to open everything. So that is greatly motivating to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's most people's worst nightmare from what I've heard. You have strangers in your house opening drawers. But I think even if it's something like, I just had a friend and a client recently who said, she really wanted to host a dinner party. And she realized that she had been not having people over because she was kind of embarrassed. Like she felt like there was too much clutter and too much chaos. And she has 3 young kids at home. And, as much as I want to say, like, nobody else cares about your clutter, they just want to hang out with you. It really was, it was a barrier for her. And so her motivation to kind of declutter and get organized was, I want to host more. Like it was a real shift to a different quality of life. And so I think that's always why I want to go back to like, what are the things you want to do? And then how can your home facilitate that? And what's in the way? And then those are the things you'll be more inclined to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, for everyone, it would be different, like,
Yeah.
what their reasons are. I mean, even just like decluttering your bedroom so that you can just wake up with a sense of like a lighter feeling. I can't.
Yeah,
Would
you can
be.
just sleep better. You know,
Yeah.
people are really stressed out in, chaotic, overstuffed bedroom. So
Yeah.
even if it's like, I've noticed I'm not sleeping very well or I don't feel relaxed, like I'm gonna get all the clutter and junk out of my bedroom and see if that makes a difference. That feels really different than just I'm gonna declutter because I guess
I
I'm
was told
supposed
me
to.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I always, even as an organizing expert, I always play devil's advocate with people and say, like, well, who cares? Like, what if you never decluttered? And then it will open up for them their real reason,
That's so
you
good.
know, kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
To be like, who cares? And then they'll tell you exactly why they care.
Right. I love that. Um, Sort of the last question. I feel like so many people have stuff the stuff that like sits in your, like we have a basement down there and there's just stuff down there. As organized as we've tried to make it, there's stuff that actually we probably don't need. We like if someone just burned it, I probably would never even care, really. But like you hold on to this stuff and um and I feel like it um I don't know, like I feel like so many people are holding on to stuff. And I thought like what is your I think I follow you on Substack and I think you said you recently decluttered or organized your basement.
My scary basement that I'm terrified of.
Yes. And so what do you think about that? Like people just holding on to random things and what's your advice for that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think most kind of basements and storage areas tend to just be graveyards for stuff. It's like where stuff just goes to die.
Mhm.
And that really bothers me. Like I
Mhm.
just felt like even though it's out of sight, nobody knows except for us. For
Yeah.
me, it was a little like cosmic weight of like emotional clutter and unfinished business. And so, we have a very tiny basement, and I just rallied the family one day and said, all right, teenagers, like, get everything out. We're going to decide what we need. We're going to clean, and we're going to just put back what we actually want to keep. And the only things remaining, I think I did, share a photo, even though it was mortifying, um, because our basement is not aesthetically pleasing, but we basically just kept a few bins of party supplies that don't have room in our house for if we have big parties, like glassware and stuff like that. And then paint cans. So like that
Yeah.
we need. My husband has a little bit of a wine hoarding problem. So that's down. And then it was just like taxes and each one of us gets like a sentimental bin. And that's pretty much it. Everything else was sort of like gear or like old crutches from when someone broke their
Yeah.
foot. And hopefully nobody's going to break a foot again, but we'll deal with it. So I think like it's interesting. I always say to people who feel like their house is disorganized, deal with every room in your house before you even think about those
Those-
storage spaces because they're not living spaces. They
Yeah.
really, the only purpose is to store extra things. And so I think of it almost as like a bonus. Like if your home feels great and dialed in and you love your baseline and you've got a little time to spare, sure, like do a sweep of that stuff. But I'm pretty low key about it if you feel like the rest of your house feels, spacious and functional, then it's like, we all have limited time in our days and lives.
Yeah.
I guess the real answer would be deal with it if it bothers you.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great advice.
It did bother me. Nobody else in my family cared at all, but
Yeah.
I bought some, like ice cream and something, like I was like, we're gonna do this in 2 hours and then we're gonna get ice cream and you'll never hear me complain again.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah. I said last question, but I have one more quick one.
Sure.
So I always find it hard. So I really like things to be organized. I really like kind of clean lines, but I also like sentimental treasures. And I love finding something at the op shop and a little knickknack and putting it on a shelf. And I have a real mix of this kind of liking those things and wanting things to be very pared back. Um,
Yeah.
and I wondered what your advice for people who would argue that like a minimalist home might not be have those things like
As
this.
characterful,
Yes,
as
ye-
personal as
Yeah. I would actually argue the opposite, that like a minimal home values those things and displays them even more so.
Mm.
Because in a very busy, cluttered home, in my mind, things kind of lose meaning because all you're seeing is stuff and it's overstimulating. Whereas, like I'm staring at it, but like I have a framed note from my father that is front and center. And it's so important and meaningful to me, much more so than if I had piles and piles of his letters everywhere. Then it would just be like clutter. And so I think it's about like leaning into those treasures and those sentimental objects in a way where you honor them by displaying them, using them, giving them a place in your home, instead of what the norm is, which is kind of just shoving them all in bins and baskets and boxes, never to see the light of day. So I think if your collections feel really intentional and you're displaying them and enjoying them, that's perfect, right? Like that's incredible. That's the goal. I think what I find is what most people do is they just have such an incredible volume that it all kind of gets lost and like loses the meaning. Like if you had, say, 100 teddy bears from childhood,
Yeah.
now you're drowning in teddy bears. But
Mm.
if you have one that was like your treasured teddy bear and it like sits on a shelf in your kid's room and everybody sees it and knows its name, suddenly it's like an heirloom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
really
I think it's like fewer better, and like really culling the collections. So it's like picking one out of a bunch to kind of impart with meaning and treat really well.
yeah. I love that. Amazing. I think
Right.
that's
This is fun.
yeah. And we could have a whole other conversation to talk about teenagers, I think, but
I think so. Yeah.
For the book.
I'd like all the tips.
thank you so much for chatting with us and sharing all of your tips. And I hope everyone runs out and buys all of your books.
Oh, thanks.
And follows you on Substack. I really enjoy your newsletters as well there. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks.
And for talking to us today.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was a blast from across the world. I love it.
Thank you, Shira, and take care.
All right, you too. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Family Home Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to read our new book, The Family Home.
Our book is full of thoughtful and achievable ideas for real family life, from clever storage solutions and shared bedroom setups to meaningful ways to display your children's artwork and how to make the most of small spaces. With stunning photography by our friend Amelia Rushforth, you'll see inspiring and thoughtful homes of all shapes and sizes, with so many ideas for creating a home that sparks imagination, encourages independence, and brings the whole family together.
You can click the link in the show notes for more information. We can't wait for you to read it.
Thank you.